We will have time for some questions. Elmer will pass you some microphones if you have any questions to our amazing speakers. Anyone? Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Juha Poikolo from TVO. So, a simple question to Rauli is that what's the benefit of building it into a ship instead of building an SMR into ground? So, just to list the main reasons why to put it on.
First reason is no concrete.
Yeah,
good.
That was my first thought as well. So there's several kind of vectors for the benefits. One is the kind of controlled manufacturing environment that you have in the shipyard. So you have all the professionals there and all the supply chains and quality assurance and all those stuff already. Like it's already an SMR factory, basically. So if you compare that to the environment that you bring maybe thousands of people from all over the world into a single site to stay there for a couple of months or a couple of years. So the kind of project managing is very different. The other one is the kind of site preparation cost benefit. So you don't have to do concrete because it's a ship. Maybe you'll have a significant amount of steel, but you also have a lot of steel in onshore power plants. And from that, you also get the benefit that you don't have to buy or rent land because you're siting it offshore. Maybe you will have to rent a location in a harbor or something like that. But do you guys have any more?
I've got one. I've got two actually. Okay, so the other advantage is the absence of disruption and dust and noise associated with a Olympic scale construction project that could take a decade to complete. And in my experience, I ran the national public consultation for nuclear new build in the UK. And I was going around all of these communities around the country expecting to hear concerns about safety and waste and this kind of thing. And really what people cared about was that scale of disruption that they were going to experience. They wanted the plant, they wanted the jobs, they wanted the future employment opportunities for their kids, for decades. But they really were, sort of upset by the prospect of this sort of, thousands of migrant workers and the extent of impact on their often quite, rural, otherwise quiet communities. So I think the opportunity to, relocate that into a, fully functional factory environment and then deliver the finished unit is really important. And the other key benefit that I would say is related to siting, and the opportunity to site your facility either at a dock or even a little offshore creates opportunities to scale, to add units much more easily than, again, if you're in a land-based project.
And there's a couple more. One is that you don't have to redesign it for each new site. So that's really important because anything you redesign, you also have to go license again. And that means time spent, money and time spent doing the design, and then money and time spent doing the licensing. And that lengthens out your pre-development costs and so forth, which you're paying interest on the whole time. This is anything you do at the beginning of the project is very expensive. And then the final thing is that shipyard productivity, manufacturing productivity is 2 to 3 times higher than construction productivity. Even in Finland, where construction is very good, it's just remarkable how much better manufacturing productivity is. And if you look at various measures like tons of material erected per worker per hour, or value added, or any of these measures, it's way, way better in shipyards than shipbuilding is extremely competitive. Construction is not competitive. Once you get a construction project, you just do it, Like there's nobody saying, hey, we're not going to buy the next one from you.
So we get the audio.
hey, we're not going to buy the next one from you if you guys, don't make this, $1 million cheaper or something. Whereas in shipyards, every single time the shipyard is competing, basically building to compete for the next product. And that, over the years, has really created a kind of competitiveness in shipyard manufacturing, which we just don't see in construction sectors, even non-nuclear construction.
Yeah, and that rate of deployment that Rowley was talking about, 1.2 gigawatts per year, I mean, that's how you do that. You have to move into a really high productivity manufacturing environment to get that kind of rate of deployment.
Maybe one more.
That was a great question.
Wait a moment.
Yes, my name is Eero Mäkinen. My background is shipbuilding in Finland, basically. And I have a couple of questions related to this Finnish element of these projects. First, it was mentioned by Mr. Partanen that we have 3 shipyards. We have only 3 shipyards. But I would think that only one has some kind of capabilities in principle to touch that kind of product. Helsinki Shipyard, which is the smallest of these 3, it's practically out of question, not because of its present ownership by Russians, but because of its location in the center of Helsinki. Rauma has a small facility, so the only large facility is Meyer Turku, and that has been recently totally optimized and further developed for cruise ship construction. So it would be very different, very, very difficult change and very expensive change towards FPSO construction. Then, as we all know, the construction of FPSOs has moved almost totally to South Korea today, from where it will move further slowly to China. But the fact of the matter is that no shipbuilding product which has moved from Europe to the Far East during the last 50 years, none of the products have come back ever to Europe. So therefore, I think it's very clear that some Far Eastern countries will play the dominant role in FPSO type of products. If we put the Finnish shipbuilding in perspective, the shipbuilding in Finland has a very high profile, partly because of the history, partly because of the nature of products we have been building and we are presently building. But the fact of the matter is that there are 2,500 ships built in the world annually. Out of the 2,500, 3 to 4 are delivered from Finland. That shows the scale. Then I go a little bit to this plant design, which was discussed very extensively. I appreciate that very much. The total cost of the plant was, as presented, was $1.8 billion. So that is not out of the reach for Meyer Turku money-wise, because the biggest cruise ships, they cost now $1.5 billion. So the order of magnitude is the same. But I think the big issue is that how much of that 1.8 billion is really the shipyard's added value. In the cruise ships, it's 20% or less. And I think in these FPSOs, it will probably be even more, even lower, most likely. Okay, so the interesting thing from a shipbuilding perspective is that how big portion of that 1.8 billion would be really the added value of the shipyard, by the shipyard people. And then my final comment is, well, let's leave it like that. I think that was perhaps enough questions. Thank you.
Thanks for the insights and comments. I have to kind of make a disclaimer that I am not a shipbuilding professional or have not worked in the field myself. So this making this study was kind of my first tip into that water, so to speak. And good points. The thing is that building a big ship like what that was presented in Eric's the EPRI study is perhaps not within the capabilities of Finnish shipyards that we agree on, but there are other opportunities. You could build smaller ships with smaller reactors. Not FPSOs. You could have just a nuclear reactor there and make electricity or steam. And then again, you can also, the shipyard industry, as we know, is very kind of networked. So you can do one part somewhere and another part somewhere else. So you don't have to do the whole thing in Finland. One option would be to build the hull and the other systems here in Finland and then maybe tow it to another location for the reactor installation, like we did with the nuclear icebreakers in the 80s with the Soviet Union. So, yeah, good points, good criticism. I think that we do need to look this also in kind of optimistic way and try to see the potential and possibilities over the medium to long term as well. This will not happen by snapping our fingers and starting tomorrow, but we need to start thinking about this more if we are to start doing this later on. Do you guys have any additional?
Sure. Yeah, so I should have made clear that Rauli asked me to present the kind of cost basis for the EPRI study. Rauli's study was not about doing FPSOs in Finland. It's about doing power plants in Finland. And a key part of the study was a power plant. And that power plant fits in, if you look at the dimensions, fits in about 175 meters by 67 meters, which is within the capacity of several of the yards in Finland. I think the shipyards, the question about value added is quite interesting, but I would just say that in this case, the shipyard would be acting like sort of a combination between an EPC and a ship fabricator. And so that might be some kind of evolution of their business model, but this ability to integrate these different systems in a fabrication environment that's controlled, that has the same welders showing up every day and so forth, this is really valuable, and it's not something that is actually available anywhere else in the economy. So it may be possible for the shipyards to extract some rents from that. I think the comment about shipyard, the evolution of shipbuilding, this is something I've also studied quite a lot. The evolution of shipbuilding and the movement to Asia and so forth. We think in this case there's actually a kind of counter trend because of national nuclear safety regulation. And so there's actually an interest by the country to have, not necessarily to have everything made in their own shipyards, but to have be able to have a kind of confidence and inspectability during the manufacturing process, and a sort of shared set of norms and quality and so forth, which are required by nuclear regulation and nuclear safety practice. We believe that it's possible that in the future these will become mass manufactured products and people will just be happy to buy them from China or wherever they're made. But we think in the near term that it will actually be a kind of risk reduction opportunity to get them made in the country where they will be sited. And so this is another reason. And then the comment about Helsinki, I'm not sure why this would be inappropriate for Helsinki, given this. I don't think there's a size constraint, but there's nothing nuclear going on in the construction process, so it doesn't matter if it's in a city or not. It's nuclear grade construction, but you're not using any radioactive materials or anything. And in fact, there are not any radioactive materials on board until you load the first fuel. So
you better take a taxi and go and see the yard.
Yeah. Okay, maybe you can take us there.
So basically, the yard still exists over there. The hulls which we can build there are about 270 meters long and about 34 meters wide. So basically, we would need to adjust.
Upgrade.
If possible. we made some studies concerning Russian-made ones some time back, and it's possible.
Yeah, I think it's very helpful to hear kind of the starting point where we are with all this stuff. But if you look at an industry like the offshore wind industry, 10 years ago, there's hardly anything happening. There's a few wind turbines being installed. They were quite small. When people built a 200 megawatt wind farm, it was headline news because it was a really big wind farm. Now we're talking about building multi-gigawatt wind farms, and we're talking about being able to move into countries like Finland and other places and scale up the industry very quickly because we are confident that there's a market, and we know that there's going to need to be large investments in this kind of clean energy generation in order to make that happen. We need to think about this the same way. This is not like, let's be the modest little nuclear industry and think about how we can build one reactor in 10 years. This is really a program for thinking about how we can build, 1 or 2 reactors a year for the next 30 years. And so that is obviously going to take some investments. But if you think about the kind of investments that you need, even if you have to invest 500 million in a yard to make it into a world-class yard to do this kind of work, that's not very much if you're going to be building 50 reactors there. So I think you need to think about it in that context. We're not saying that with no money down and with no changes to anything, you can build a bunch of reactors here in Finland. I think Rowley's saying there's a real potential here that we can build on, and we need to kind of really look at this as a possible program and see what kind of actions we need to do to make this happen. So thanks.
Thank you for great questions.